Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse McFarlane Collector Edition Firestorm in what is basically his classic outfit, the one that I think most people recognize if they're not a new person. And this one is the higher price point collector edition figure. This one actually comes with some accessories, so it might be warranted, but I still think probably not. But it's Firestorm, and I like this guy. I'm probably going to say Firestar a bunch. It's just a slip of the tongue. I know his name is Firestorm. It's on the box. But for some reason, I always call him Firestar. I don't know why. Anyway, I've actually liked this guy for a long time, since I was a little kid watching cartoons that he was in. It was on Cartoon Network, so I don't remember which cartoon it was. I think it was whatever the Justice League cartoon was, the old-timey one. Not the modern, like, Batman animated series style one. The old Justice League, whatever that was. I remember seeing him in that, and I liked him. Anyway, I was excited for this figure. I've heard that he's a really good one, and I'm going to let you know if that is the case. So let's go ahead and get him off the stand and take... Oh, by the way, he's like that because I couldn't get him to freaking stand up. So I T-posed him as best I could, and it ended up working. But anyway, let's get him off the stand and take a closer look. Okay, so before we get into the figure, let's take a look at my package. It is the special version of the blue and white and black packaging. We do have the chrome trim, which is a nice touch. I like that. And we have the chrome McFarlane Collector Edition. I get that it's McFarlane Toys, so it makes sense, but it's also just a guy's name, Collector Edition. It's a little bit weird. Does that make sense to you guys? How do you feel about that? I get that it's the toy brand, so it makes sense to do, but also it's weird for me to have a man's name on my toy for no real reason. Crisis on Infinite Earth. I can't speak anymore. I'm doing this late at night, so just expect lots of stuttering and whatnot. So there's some artwork of not the figure at all. What the heck? Yeah, usual packaging. Another man's name on it. Okay, so let's take a look at the figure. Alright, well, let's do a quick Darwin, just to get that out of the way. Definitely different scales, looks about right. Let's see, this guy stands about 7 1/4 to the top of where his head would be inside the fire, for scale purposes. It's going to be about 18.5 centimeters, give or take. Alright, so, question of the day. Man. What the heck? I don't even... Do you guys think this looks good? I'm sorry. I'm not laughing in a disrespectful way. If you do like it, that's great. For me, it's not working. The neon orangey red, and I don't know if it's showing up on camera that way, but it is very vibrant. It is neon orangey red. And then the dullest mustard yellow. He's supposed to be on fire, he's supposed to be energized, and it's the dullest, mustardiest yellow that they could have possibly chosen, up against the most vibrant orangey red that they could have chosen. It's just so strange to me. I thought it looked maybe good, but also terrible in the package, and then when I saw it online, when I ordered it, I mean, and then when I got it in the package, and it's a weird combination. And not to mention, the colors are all over the place. Guys, we're diving into the aesthetic. The yellows don't match from chest to abdomen to diaper. The reds, the knees are okay, but we have very different colored elbows. It's just... It's so... Like, the neon orange red, I'm okay with that. If the yellow was nice and vibrant too. It's not. It's so strange. And then the fire that they put on him, it's technically transparent plastic with a yellow wash on it, and maybe some other paint, but it's so dull and drab. It's not my lighting. It looks like someone smeared ketchup and mustard on him. It's really not great looking. It looks like melted cheddar cheese. Honestly, that's like exactly what it looks like. Oh, such a missed opportunity. The fire on his head, so unilluminated. I'm going to link you to a review up there of an old figure, and I know a lot of people have a lot of strong opinions about the DC Universe Classics line. A lot of reused parts, very dated articulation, but I'll be damned if the figures didn't look good for what they were. And plenty of them stood out as looking nice. This guy, not cutting it if you ask me. This guy needs a total repaint as far as paint goes. It is clean in this area. It's alright. It's a little weird what they did in the chest. You can see there's some of it is on top, some of it is painted. It's a little a little strange looking, but it's not bad. All right, and we'll get into the face real quick. I don't mind what they did with the face, but his head is tiny, so let's dive into this sculpt. It's like they hear me say the heads are too big on most action figures these days for superheroes, and then they're just like, cut it in half, make it tiny. No, that's not how you do it. His head is so tiny. Even with the fire, which should make it look bigger, and it's also very narrow. He has no ears, but it's a tiny little peanut head, which is exaggerated by the fact that his chest is also incredibly narrow and small. Very muscular legs, well sculpted, don't dislike those. Abdomen looks nice. From here down, it looks like a solid figure. His head's so tiny, and his chest, it's so weird. Damn, it's like they just cannot do it. It was so close to being awesome, at least as far as the sculpt goes. Nope. Didn't do it. Tiny head, tiny chest, looks so disproportionate, looks like a cobbled together custom. And I see this all the time. I don't ever comment on other people's customs other than to say nice things, but I see it all the time where people are taking parts that don't go together. And this looks like that. Tiny head, tiny chest, giant legs. I mean, in comparison, not working for me. I'm gonna give this guy an aesthetic rating of 5 out of 10. It's probably worse than I should give it. I want to go lower. I'm gonna go 3 out of 10. This is one of the ugliest figures they've released, I think. There are some shining moments. There's some cleanliness? No. There's some clean work being done here, but no, this is bad. Very bad. All right, now as far as the accessories go, you do get the 2 effect hands that come on him in the package. His right hand is a fist. I don't think these effects look very good unless they're pointed directly at you, these fist ones. I'll show you the other one in a minute. Then you get the fiery open hand, which I think is okay, other than the fire looks terrible. The other effect hands include another fist for the other side, so it's basically the same thing. And then we get one where he's shooting his fireballs out, which I think is a good idea. It's a good sculpt, but the paint and execution on the fire part just does not look good. And then we have an array of other non-flaming hands, which are from other figures, I think entirely, but maybe a couple of them are new. Maybe the open hands, not sure. You get the DC display stand with the silver logo on it this time. Oh boy, spared no expense. And then we get the plinth of sadness, which is a hollow piece of crappy plastic with a crappy paint job. It looks fine from a distance, but up close it's really rough. And then you get the collector card, which shows the back of the box with McFarlane's name on it again. It's his company, he earned it. I mean, what the heck? But it's not something I want. None of this is collector worthy. The extra hands, are we really considering just a normal array of extra hands as collector edition? I don't. If that's the way things are going, then I don't like it. I don't like that at all. Accessory wise, I'll go 7 out of 10 because you got a bunch of hands, but it's like, it's only okay. The effect parts are so disappointing given that melted cheddar cheese look. It doesn't look right. Okay, as far as articulation goes, maybe this guy can pose really well. He can look up nicely. It's okay. He can look down, no problem. Leaning should be, yep, that's no problem. And since it's a double ball peg, you can lean it however you want. That is a wonderful, wonderful joint. Could be a little better. They opted for no gapping at all, and probably smaller balls than I would. I'm a big ball kind of guy, but it works pretty well. All right, for the shoulder, you do get the ball peg that goes into the chest, so you can move it around with this cap floating, and then you get the hinge. Can't get up to horizontal unless you use that extra ball. Just on the hinge, it's not going to do it, but there you go. And then you get your full rotation. These are not soft enough to flex, so you get your full rotation, but it's at an angle. His shoulders are quite loose. Not floppy, but not very... Ooh, that's actually... That is borderline floppy right there. If I touch it, it goes down. So the hinge is loose, the ball's not as bad. Let's try this one. Yeah, this one's okay. Bicep swivel is fine. Double jointed elbow. Plenty of range. Hideous joint. Don't know what McFarlane's doing with these joints. He's been making toys long enough that he knows better. So I tend to think he's got somebody in charge of this line that isn't him, that doesn't know what they're doing. And then the sculptors don't either, or somebody along the way doesn't know what they're doing or doesn't care, because these joints are nasty. Okay, for the wrists. Speaking of nasty joints, we have sculpted joints again, which this one's not as noticeable because it looks mostly like a ball. But the sculpted joints look terrible when they're bent, when they're used. They're hideous. Just do ball joints, ball sockets. these joints that are all disassembled when you pose them, they don't look good, and I'll show you at the ankle. Stop sculpting the joints, just use joints. They look like joints either way. All right, let's see. Going back on the torso, goes back really far. You can get a gap in there, but obviously just don't go that far. That's not a problem. So really far back, not too bad forward for McFarlane. It goes forward some, so that's all right. To the side, pretty good. Of course, you get some rotation. Now for the lower, leans back. So with both of those leaning all the way back, he can really lean back. That'll work for some poses, I'm sure. Leaning forward, still next to nothing. What the heck? And then leaning side to side, just a little bit of extra. And then you get more rotation down there. His diaper is still too big, but at least it's not super huge, and it is hidden somewhat by the belt being part of it. Still don't love the way they do that, but it looks okay. For the hips, let's see how they work. Going out to the side, diaper gets in the way, but you still get pretty good range out of that. I'll take it. Joints are pretty loose. Going forward, diaper is just not letting him go. What the heck, McFarlane Toys? Oh, man. Why is it so hard for these companies who have been around for a very long time to make toys? This is nuts to me. That's like virtually no range. He can walk. It's not an action figure if he can only walk. No thigh swivel to speak of. Like, it's technically in there, and you can probably force a little bit out of it, but nothing significant. All right, double jointed knee. Lower legs are way too long again, by a lot. Good enough range. No boot swivel. Ankles are very sculpted, very ratchety. Lots of range, of course, but they're ugly. They're so ugly. And they're too ratcheted. It's annoying. Okay, and then we get the feet, which have really nice toe hinges in terms of placement, and they're not super loose. Oh, the placement's all right anyway. But the feet are sculpted really weird. He can't stand flat on the surface. Look at that. It's like an S shape. I give up. I give up. Oh man, like, okay, so they put all these extra details in the boots. Wonderful, that's great. So much texture, so much detail. But then no paint, and the articulation doesn't work, and the proportions are terrible. So how about you stop focusing on things like the boot details and make the figure better? How about that? It's... Articulation's gonna get a 7. It's average. All right, now it's time for the cake rating, which is there. It's probably pointless at this point for me to do cake ratings because whoever was doing the cakes got fired, I think, or got told not to do that. His cake is average, 5 out of 10. They did fill out the front part of his diaper quite heavily, but we're definitely not going to go into ratings on that area. But this guy is packing. Okay, so final verdict on this figure. If you don't mind the weird colors of the yellow and red, and you don't mind the weird color of the fire, and you don't mind the tiny head and tiny chest, and the fact that it's hard to pose him, at least his feet, then it's a pretty solid release. It's real nice. Man, they cost more than the normal ones, and they're still just as bad, but we get this. What? 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10. I can see people getting some value out of this figure if you pose him just right and don't care about the few things I pointed out, but it's not a good one. I'm sorry. It's not as bad as plenty of the figures McFarlane releases, but it's not a good one. The tiny head and tiny chest and the mustard and ketchup and cheese all over this guy, it's just not good. And it's not the character design. I love the character design. I mean, I can't show you here because this isn't the right one, but his character design's nice. But this is not it, so yeah, I don't like it. Let me know what you guys think, especially at the higher price point. I would pass. All right, there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos almost every single day, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.